Hi, this is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and this is a computer. It's a tiny computer called the Intel Compute Stick, measures about 4 inches by 1.5 inches by half an inch, weighs about 2 ounces, and the idea is you can plug it right into the HDMI port of a display, whether it be a computer monitor or a television, and you've got a fully functional computer. It sells for about $150. This particular model has 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage, and runs Windows 8.1 software. There's also a cheaper version that has 1 gig of RAM, 8 gigs of storage, and Ubuntu Linux. Both models have one USB 2.0 port, a micro USB port, which is really the power adapter, so you've only got one useful USB port there. Well, useful for plugging things in. A power button, micro SD card slot. Under the hood there is a little fan that makes sort of a high-pitched squeal. It's not too noisy unless you're close to it, but it does have active cooling, and it still gets pretty warm to the touch under normal operation. When you put everything together into a case this small, that's going to happen. Now, part of what makes this sort of thing possible is that over the last couple of years we've seen these Intel Atom processors show up in small devices like tablets, and this basically has the guts of a tablet in a I'd say desktop, but really more like a large USB flash drive kind of setup. Very large for a flash drive, very small for a computer, and again, that's a HDMI port instead of a USB port. So you would plug it into your display, and if it doesn't fit right into the display, there's this adapter that comes in the case. Also comes with this USB power cable, or it's just a USB to micro USB cable. It's not very long, and so it might not have room to reach your power outlet. It's got a 5-volt, 2-amp adapter, and it comes with a number of different charging connectors. So I've got it set up to work with a US adapter, but you can see that there's other versions for Europe, Asia, and so on. And with some TVs, you might be able to plug the power connector directly into a USB port on your television. I've noticed that I have one TV in the house that works perfectly with. There's another one that doesn't seem to provide enough power, and it sort of reboots. Now, because we're in the well-illuminated office here, I'm going to go ahead and show you the bad TV. But then we're going to switch the video over, and I'll take you downstairs to the living room where we can get a little bit of a better look at how everything works. So again, the idea is you would just plug it right in there. Little LED will light up, let you know that it's working, and Windows will boot, or Ubuntu if you have the Ubuntu model. So let's take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to show you what this looks like fully up and running on a 32-inch television. Then I'm going to show you how it works as a productivity system, a gaming system, a video system, and you can imagine other applications like business applications. You could provide these to employees and have them take their personal documents to and from home, to and from the office. You could use them in a school setting to make any number of displays into computers. You could use them to set up a digital kiosk system, point of sale system, etc. So it opens up some interesting possibilities when you have a computer that's small enough to slide into your pocket. Alright, so now the Compute Stick is plugged into this 32-inch 720p television, and I've got a USB dongle for this keyboard and touchpad combo unit. So it's a single USB dongle that uses the only port available, and I can now use the touchpad and the keyboard. Now, if you had a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard, then you would be able to free up that port and use it for something else, but in this case, I'm using the tools that I happen to have. So let's take a look at some of the different things you can do. We've got web browsing. I'm connected to my home network here using an 802.11n connection.
Hi, this is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and this is the ASUS ZenBook UX305. It's a thin, light, and affordable laptop. It measures about 0.5 inches thick, weighs about 2.6 pounds, has an all-metal case.
So YouTube works. I've had no problem streaming video from Hulu, Netflix, other online video sites as well. Now, what if you wanted to watch local media or content that was streaming from a shared network drive? I went ahead and installed Kodi, which is the newish name for XBMC, a media center application, and that works pretty well here too. So these are recordings television recordings made using another computer in our house. And let's find one here. Not really sure what I'm looking for. Now let's try an episode of Frontline.
Join where it's set, so be sure to join us then. Thanks for watching. See you next.
Juana Harmon Foundation.
Down. Word seen in brackets. SIC.
Tried to call him, but he doesn't respond, and I don't see him.
So that is XBMC playing local video streamed over a network connection. Pretty responsive, and I'm using the keyboard here, but if you had a remote control that works with Windows, you should be able to use that instead. Wanted to do some office work. We've got LibreOffice here, which is an open source office creation and editing suite of applications. So let's go ahead and create a text document. So you can do spreadsheets, text documents, presentations, and so on. And what about gaming? Now, this is not a system that's really designed for high-end gaming. It's got an Intel Atom Bay Trail processor. It's got decent graphics for things like Windows Store games, but this is Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery. It's a game that was originally developed for iOS, and it works pretty well on low-end hardware like this. So it's an attractive game that's fun to play. I can remember how to load it up here. But it's not going to tax your system resources the way a first-person shooter like Crysis might. It's more of a point-and-click kind of adventure. Now, you do have access to the Windows Store, so if you wanted to run applications like Asphalt 8, you could do that as well. So this is a racing game. Again, it's the sort of game that you'd expect from a mobile device, but it's something that's optimized to work on low-end hardware. So it shows, again, that within limitations, you can use this sort of system for gaming. Now, I'm horrible at racing games, but this is a nice-looking one, so I just want to show you. So that is Asphalt 8. Windows Store application. So you can see that it's a pretty versatile system. It can do a lot of the same sorts of things that you'd expect any Windows device to do, from office and productivity applications to web browsing. You use it for email. So you could use it as a general purpose computer. Just bear in mind, it's not going to be a super fast computer. In fact, even compared with some other devices that have similar hardware, Intel Atom processors, 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage, I found that this is relatively on the slow side. And that might have something to do with the small case and sort of heat control issues. It's not much slower, but it's a little bit slower than some other systems with similar hardware that I've tested when it comes to CPU-intensive tasks like creating zip archive files with lots of files and folders inside of them, or transcoding audio or video files. So for sort of casual use, for surfing the web on your TV in the living room, it's an interesting option. Now, is it an option that I would say is better than something like a Roku or an Amazon Fire TV? Depends on what you're looking for. If you want to be able to run any Windows application, this is an interesting option. But if it's if you just want something that's easy to use, easy to navigate with, say, a remote control like a Kindle Fire remote control, then this might not be your best option. It's also more expensive than something like a Roku or a Fire TV or an Apple TV. But if you're looking for sort of that versatility, if you're looking to create your own sort of DIY media center that's capable of doing things like accessing content from Hulu without a Hulu Plus subscription, this will access the free version. It's a full-fledged computer. And so you don't need that subscription like you would with a dedicated media device. So it's an interesting option. It's a versatile option. At $150, you might be better off in some situations just plugging a tablet into your TV. But because it's so small, because it can just sort of hang out behind your TV all the time, that might be something that you're looking for that doesn't stick out the way that a tablet does. My only real complaint with it, as I mentioned, it's not the fastest device that I tested, but it works pretty much as it should. My only real complaint is the wireless range is not as strong as I would like it to be. Part of the reason we switched TVs partway through this video was because I wanted to be able to plug it into the television so I could draw power from the television, and that works with this TV, but not the other one I showed you. But the main reason is that right here, next to my Wi-Fi router, it gets stellar performance in terms of wireless. When I try to use it up in my third floor office, I have a hard time staying online for more than a few seconds at a time. So that might be something worth considering. If you're going to be putting it very far away from your router, then you might need some sort of range extender or other option. Intel also points out that you can use this for Steam's in-home game streaming. So if you have a gaming PC, you can actually stream games over your home network connection. But in that situation, they again recommend plugging in a USB to Ethernet adapter or a 802.11ac 5 GHz Wi-Fi adapter, because even Intel acknowledges that the Wi-Fi that's built in is not stellar. But overall, it's an interesting device, and I'll be interested to see how people use it. This is Brad Linder with Lilliputian.